We got Chris.
Chris Rose, welcome. You're at the Combine, right? What'd you run? Did you run the 40 yet?
Good.
What would you run? If we put you out there right now, what would you run in the 40?
Dude, that's Eisen's thing. I have a 2-time back surgery participant.
Oh, okay.
That's what I am. So I wouldn't even pass the medical part of the Combine.
That's funny.
All right, that's
So
cool.
you're not doing the weightlifting either, huh?
No.
No, weightlifting for me is getting my fat ass out of the bed and down to the gym. That's plenty of weightlifting.
Hey, what's the big story from the Combine? Is there anything that sort of developed that we didn't expect to develop so far?
I mean, obviously the Jalen Carter news was huge.
Yeah.
I think the most shocking thing out of everything was that he actually returned here to Indianapolis yesterday
I was shocked by that.
and was down on the field while his fellow defensive linemen were participating in the drills and all the testing. That'll obviously be the most interesting story because he could easily go number one if Chicago hangs on to that pick. Other than that, it was probably just the pure speed. We had 10 guys yesterday run a sub 4.5 40. Just to give you a little bit of comparison, that's twice the number that ran a year ago. And it's the most of any defensive lineman linebacker group in the last 20 years since the statistics became available here at the Combine. So it is a fast group. When you have a 38-35 Super Bowl, you are going to need to find some fast guys that can stop the fast guys on the other side of the football. And so that will continue on with the defensive backs today at 3 o'clock Eastern on NFL Network.
Chris, I can't continue with this interview until I know what is on. I'm trying to figure out what's on your hat. Like, what is that? I need to know.
I think it's the Columbia Fireflies. This is their alternate hat. I think it's their pride hat.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What
so
is that? That's cool. All right, very good.
It's a firefly.
I couldn't tell because. All right, then. Well, now I can see it.
Yeah, my guess is just look through that mangy beard of yours. You'll find a firefly or two.
Wait a minute.
You'll
Wait a
probably
minute.
find
Wait a
yesterday's
minute.
lunch.
We got a mangy beard contest going on with the two. Can we get a double box of them again, Steve?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know
Wait a
whose
second.
beard is mangier.
Well, Chris has got a much bigger budget than me. His is neat.
Chris is clean.
Yeah,
This
you
is
don't
not
have a neck
mangy.
beard.
First
Never
of all,
mind.
Crawford.
You don't have a neck beard.
I mean,
This
Chris
is-
doesn't have the ability to grow it on the rest of his face, unlike me. He's not manly enough, but that's okay.
Oh, wow.
Not true. Not true at all. It's just you have to taper it. Now, I was told I never had a beard until the pandemic.
Yeah.
And my wife was like, "Listen, you're not going to be on TV for a little while. Why don't you grow out your beard?" And I was like, "Well, it's not really going to change my horseshit personality. So if you're hoping that's what happens, it's not going to change." So what I've done is I've now kept it. I tapered it yesterday, colored it a little bit, but it was very natural color. My girl Jenny in the makeup department hooked it up.
Yeah.
And so hopefully it'll make it through the weekend in Indianapolis before it turns to Santa white.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
why I
you're
don't
all
grow it,
white.
Chris.
If you didn't color it at all, you'd be all white.
No, not all white, but
All right.
it's much more white than this. Oh God!
Oh,
Please.
gee.
Take camera 3.
That looks like take any other camera.
Anything.
That looks like
Anything
a
other
chia
than
pet.
guys. I gotta go. I'm sorry. I can't be here anymore.
Rose is throwing up
be
in
jealous.
his mouth.
Don't be jealous of my facial hair. Let's
Wow.
go.
Chris,
Holy
Yeah.
smokes.
That's
It's a
impressive.
good call,
Hey,
Chris. That is mangy.
Let's get to some Browns talk here because we've obviously spent a lot of time talking about the positions of need for the Browns. We know wide receiver, safety now with John Johnson cut, defensive tackle obviously is huge, linebacker as well. Whether it's the draft or free agency or trade, what to you is the most important addition the Browns have to make position-wise?
I think they have to fix that defensive line. I know one guy, Myles Garrett. He's good. We're fine with him. I actually thought Alex Wright earned the almost award last year. Like he almost made a bunch of plays. He made a couple, I think, in a Baltimore game, that Saturday night special at home. So I would count him as part of the rotation. Other than that, there's not a lot that we can depend on. I thought Isaiah Thomas, he had a really good camp and then got a little dinged up. And I think he'll have a chance to participate in that rotation as well this year. But this is a very deep class in edge rushers, as we saw yesterday. I think there are going to be a bunch of guys available there at 42 for him. I do think the defensive tackle, for years they have nickel and dimed at that position, and they have given mid-round picks a shot, whether it's Perion Winfrey, Jordan Elliott, Tommy Togiai, all of those guys. And they, a few years ago, they stopgapped it nicely with Sheldon Richardson and Malik Jackson and Malik McDowell and guys like that, well, they got off of that a year ago, and it really cost them. I mean, there were games where there were just massive holes in the middle. There were certainly some guys who participated yesterday and guys who were here in Indy but didn't hit the turf, like a guy like Mozzie Smith, who is just a freakish athlete out of Michigan, that may be available there at 42. And I think in Jim Schwartz's defense, knowing what he has run in recent years with guys who are very talented in the interior and can get to the passer, that it wouldn't shock me if that's the direction they go at 42.
Chris, do you believe that the Browns will pursue any of Deshaun Watson's older teammates, Cooks or DeAndre Hopkins? Do you think
or even Hunter Renfrow from college?
Or Hunter Renfrow, yeah, from college. Do you think they'll pursue any of those guys and try to upgrade the receiver position?
It's possible. The last few years, this wide receiver class has been excellent. Really. I mean, it was like 3 or 4 straight years. When you watch this weekend with the Combine, and you'll want to because C.J. Stroud of Ohio State's going to throw, Will Levis, the kid out of Kentucky, Anthony Richardson out of Florida. So 3 of the big 4 quarterbacks are expected to throw this weekend. You'll notice that the wide receiver, when Daniel Jeremiah, our awesome draft analyst, talks about this class, he'll say it's not as deep as it's been. But there are a few guys that I think that are going to pop on the Browns' radar. So what does that mean? Are there certain guys that maybe make a little bit more money that if the Browns are able to restructure Watson and make another move or two and open up some cap space that they'll trade some of those later round picks for him? Yeah, I think that's a real possibility. Now, I would not go after D-Hop. I think at this point of his career, based on what he's making, and I don't see that. I think that's like fantasy football if you want to do that. I don't think that's real football that helps you win games.
None of the other names. What about Renfrow? And nice chemistry at Clemson.
I think Cooks makes the most sense of the other guys.
That feels like a lifetime ago. I mean, to say he had nice chemistry at Clemson, that was 2017 or 20. I mean, it's just. I mean, really, they're different players. They've been through a lot. Renfrow can barely stay on the field at times. Brandon Cooks, now that one would interest me, right? I think he's past the dinged up phase. I mean, that's what always happened, whether it was New Orleans or New England or LA and then Houston. He couldn't stay on the field. It felt like he was there last year. I know that they had a little bit of an issue with them ripping the C off of his jersey or whatever that was, but that dude can play.
Chris, Jackson Smith and Jigba is at the podium today. He's gonna do drills but not run the 40, despite saying his hamstring's 100%. Is that kind of weird that he's not participating in the 40 when his hamstring's allegedly fully healthy after not playing all season?
Yeah, I mean, he'll run the 40 at some point, I would imagine. So he'll be at the Buckeye Pro Day and run it. It was an odd season for him, wasn't it? We saw him get hurt in that first game, and then he just never really got back into it, and he's still considered a high-end first-round pick, and in fact might even be the first receiver off the board, depending on how things shake out. So it'll be nice to just see him out here and catching passes again, because he's a talented kid. But I don't think you ever sit here and judge a kid based on what they do, what they don't do here. They still have other opportunities at their pro days and things like that. So they do take care of business when they have to.
By the way, for those who don't know, his brother is in the Pirates organization.
Good baseball player. Yeah.
And he's battling for a roster.
Right after didn't he get called up and then he got hurt?
And then he got hurt. Yeah. The only beef I have with it is in my nerdy baseball spreadsheets. He makes my Pirates team too wide.
With the last name.
The name's too long, so can we cut off one of the last names so it fits nicely in my spreadsheet?
Talk to his parents about that.
I'd like to do that.
I mean, does anybody else see the irony in a guy with a mangy beard talking about things that should be trimmed?
Yeah.
Because
and wait a minute, how many letters are in your last name, Bull?
That's true. There are 12 letters in my last name, but I don't use it on the air, right? I don't use it on the air. That's why I have a nickname. I cut it down.
Adam the Bull.
There you go.
Hey, Chris, I don't know what I wanted to
Bull?
ask you. Yeah, that's what it's on his birth certificate, Adam the Bull.
I've changed it legally.
His middle name's Doug. I had a question for you. It just hit me again. On 1 to 100, 100 is Deshaun. You're certain Deshaun Watson will return to the player he was when he was at his peak in Houston. 0 being you know for certain he won't. Where are you on that sliding scale?
Where do I hope I would be, or where am I?
No, where are you? Because I know where I'd hope I would. I have a huge difference between where I am and where I would, where I hope I would be.
It was tough to watch those last 6 games.
Yeah.
There was so little that you saw out of him that said, yeah, that's the guy we traded for. You know, it felt really kind of like a half against Washington, and that was about it. There was too much one read, backpedal, run to the right. It was a lot of what Baker did when he wasn't very good. With all that being said, he was a really talented quarterback in Houston. Really, really talented quarterback. So I'm still, at probably like a low B, like an 82.
Wow. Okay.
That he will return to form. I think that last year was challenging on a lot of levels for everybody, including the coaching staff.
You know what scares me, Chris? Because you're right. I mean, once upon a time, the eye test told you this is a guy who could win a Super Bowl, but not too long ago, around the same time we were saying that about Watson, we thought the same thing of Carson Wentz. And there are other guys whose stars were high and flamed.
But Carson Wentz did it for, in my opinion,
1 season.
2/3 of a season. Whereas Deshaun Watson, his entire time in Houston.
But he did it. Like our eyes told us when he got hurt, he was the MVP.
Jay, like Robert Griffin III was good for 1 year too. This guy, his entire time in Houston was elite. The entire time.
He was not a shooting star, right? Carson Wentz was great. He was really interesting his rookie year. And then in 2017, he played at an MVP level. And then he got hurt. And then he never really got it back.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson.
He's had 2 ACLs.
I'm still confident that he can get there.
Okay,
and
82 is pretty confident.
If he doesn't get there, maybe that's just the optimist in me, that I'm rooting so hard for it, because we can talk about defensive tackles and trying to replace John Johnson in the secondary and do we need a linebacker. The fact is, if that guy does not get back to being a top 8 quarterback, then all of this is null and void.
It's
right.
a wrap.
That's just being honest. It
No, you're absolutely
it doesn't
right.
matter. When you have spent that much draft capital and that much financially on a guy, now where he's eating up $55 million a year in cap space, if he is not elite, he can't just be okay. He's got to be elite.
Agreed.
Or we're going to be sitting here at the draft next year without a first-round pick and wondering, how the hell do we fix this thing?
He can't just be
impossible.
good. He has to be elite.
Yeah, they're
Good-
completely
good
screwed.
is not enough. Yeah.
And they're locked in for years. So they're completely everything's on the line this season, because if he's not the guy we thought he was, or if he's not the guy he was in Houston, then Stefanski gets fired and Berry gets fired, and the Browns,
they're starting over,
future,
but from a worse place
but they
than
can't
ever.
start over because they still have Watson.
No, but the fact of the matter is, like,
Yeah.
like if you're in Denver right now and you're looking around going, what the hell are we going to do? Russell Wilson isn't the guy that we thought he was. Now you're trying to resurrect that. What I'm saying is, if you blow everybody out, and you bring another coach in, you're starting from ground zero. But what's worse about that, to Chris's point, when we're 0-16 and 1-15, at least you were accumulating fantastic draft capital that will help you dig out of that hole. This is going to be a hole unlike any we've seen.
You won't be able
because they're all in on this
I
guy.
wouldn't agree with you there.
How is this?
I wouldn't
How would
agree
it
with you
be?
there.
How have we experienced this before? Because when we've sucked before, we were getting great draft picks, even though we were blowing them. We were getting them.
I hate picks.
But that doesn't
I
matter.
do too.
I mean, it's not where you draft. It's who you draft. I mean,
Well,
why
yeah,
have
but
the
it's also
Steelers now
luck,
gone
too.
16? Well, Jay, let me finish here for a second.
Go ahead. But if Burrow was, if the Browns had the one pick, when Burrow was coming out, we're set.
Right. And the year before, the Arizona Cardinals took Kyler Murray. Where are they right now?
Exactly where we thought they'd be. I've never been a Murray guy.
No, that's not fair, because they made the playoffs 2 years ago.
Right.
And then
but the Browns
people are like,
made
hey.
But the Browns made it with Baker
I
Mayfield.
know, but you can argue both sides. My point is, Jay, you can argue both sides of this coin, is that the Browns were 7-10 a year ago and had several games where we went, wow, that was really Cleveland of us. So what I would say here is that I still think that Deshaun Watson is going to get – I would be more surprised if he looked like he did the last 6 games than if he looked like he did in 2020 with the Houston Texans.
Agreed.
Right? And, we can sit here and say, well, they're going to have to blow out Stefanski and Barry. We've got to give this a whole season to play out. Not a season where they know they're going to play one quarterback for 11 games and then another quarterback for 6 games and have to modify the offense on the fly. Listen, I think Kevin Stefanski can really coach offense. I've watched a lot of Jacoby Brissett starts before this year because it's my job. He never looked as good as he did this year. Never. And hopefully it gets him a lot of money in free agency. And I don't know if he's going to be the opening day quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders or somebody else. But that offense, the first 11 games, could win you ball games. And that's with a guy who's not close to as talented as Deshaun Watson.
That's
so
fair.
We got to give this a shot.
I don't think anybody's advocating firing them mid-season. Although G. Bush has said if they start 2-4, he wants everybody gone.
Yeah, bye.
Yeah, but we can't do the whole, if they don't get it done this year, then we'll deal with that when it comes.
Well,
Chris, I want to see it all play out this coming year.
I know it's impossible to speculate because a 7-10, like last year 7-10 did feel a hell of a lot better than most 7-10s because they gifted 2 games and they easily could have been 9-8 and they still could have been in a playoff spot. But
right.
And barring an injury from Watson, let's say Watson plays the whole year and we get another 7-10. The consensus of voices we've had on this show, from our regular panelists to our guests that come in on a regular basis, the general consensus is a 7-10 with a healthy Watson, and they're cleaning house. I don't think everybody seems to think no one is safe.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
I get that. So what if you play the what if game? What if they go 10-7 and they lose as a first round wild card? Then what are you saying? That it's not good enough?
No. I think that's a whole different story because you're making progress. The one thing you don't want to do is slide backwards, and that's what we've done.
I think the Browns can have a great season this year and lose in the first round. The Bengals, the Chiefs, and the Bills are right now way, way, way ahead of the Browns. The first step is for the Browns to close the gap on those teams.
Yes.
I don't know that they can get to that level in 1 year. Now, if Deshaun Watson plays like a superstar, maybe. But, it's hard when you're a team that has never done anything in the playoffs to just assume you're going to make a deep run. I agree with you, Chris. If Deshaun Watson gets back to being the player he was in Houston, and I'm with Chris that I think it's more likely than not that we will see that, then everything's okay. They're not going to go 7-10 if Deshaun Watson's that quarterback.
No.
Not with the talent they have here. But to Chris, your point they initially made, the Browns in those first 11 games had a bad record because the defense was terrible. Not because the offense didn't play well enough. Jacoby Brissett, he's not great, but he played well enough. Nick Chubb played great. Offense did their job. The defense, it was awful last year. And that's why they were 4-7 after those games.
Well, I'll make one other point here real quickly. It's part of the reason that this weekend and the draft is so vital for a team like the Browns. Patrick Mahomes is far and away, right, the biggest reason why the Chiefs won the Super Bowl this year. Yes. But after the connection between Mahomes and Travis Kelce, look at the number of rookies they relied on. Isaiah Pacheco,
it's unreal.
7th rounder. Trent McDuffie, Karlaftis, both first-round picks.
I know.
We lost them. They had 6 starters.
6
that were
rookie
rookies.
Starters.
6 rookie starters. And we had guys last year that were drafted high enough that we thought they might be able to crack the starting lineup. And really, with the exception of Emerson on defense.
Well, Cade
York. But
Cade York special teams.
He was one of one.
11-11.
Alex Wright started later in the season.
By the way, Andy Reid's done that throughout his career.
Yeah.
He finds ways, and I don't know if he's drafting guys.
And it's not just about starting; it's about being a good player.
It is, but if you're in the starting lineup for a Super Bowl team, you're a good player.
Sure, right. But you could have been a starter for the Browns at defensive tackle. And you were not a good player.
Well, you could have started for the Browns at defensive tackle.
They just don't. The Browns really don't draft difference makers like that. Like They get.
Or is it they're not coaching them up to be difference makers like that?
That's one of the same. Right?
I think it's an impossible question to answer.
It's one of the same. Well,
I know it's a chicken or the egg.
I look at it like this. I continue to go back over 30 years. I can even tell you they had one decent linebacker, DeQuell Jackson.
We got Chris back.
Chris, you were making the point about all the rookies that came in and had an impact for the Chiefs. And is it they're drafting the right guys? It's probably a combination of both, but I want your take on it. They're just drafting guys that other teams are missing, or once they get them into the system, they know exactly the kind of player they want, and then they're coached up to be difference makers in a Super Bowl championship lineup.
Yeah, I mean it's probably a wonderful combination of both. By the way, this is how much I like you guys. That was my agent that called. So I had to hit the decline button, and then you couldn't hear. Listen. If I missed out on replacing James Corbin or something, don't worry about it. I'll always be here for the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, one way or another.
Thank you, Chris.
Jerks.
Well, Chris, bad on you. You always take calls from your agent.
Mike, did you?
Yeah,
always.
That's okay.
All right.
Not when we're.
Okay.
How often do I get to be heated talking about Cleveland sports?
Yeah,
he can wait.
I know.
He can wait.
You miss it, don't you?
Chris, we got to talk. Wait, hold on. Before we let you go,
We got two questions. He's got one. I got one.
Hold
Chris.
on.
Very important.
We got to get to the best franchise in Cleveland. Stop wasting time with the Browns. Let's talk about these Lake Erie Monsters. They are having a tremendous. The Guardians coming off a great season last year. They are the favorite to win the division. I think we all expect, at least I do, the White Sox to be better, more competitive, although they seem to have bad chemistry every year. Maybe a new manager, they'll be better. With the Guardians, with so much success from young players last year, my first question is, who are you most concerned about the sophomore slump, if you will, and who are you most confident in of the young players, no doubt in your mind, is going to have a great second season as well?
I am most concerned about Oscar Gonzalez.
Yep.
The swing is long. He's got a chase rate, but he had an unbelievable ability when there were two strikes on him to somehow put it in play. I love the kid. I love everything about him. I think he's an exceptional athlete. Obviously, there's a lot more pop in there than the 11 homers. So I hate to talk negatively about it, but if you are going to put me on the spot and say that there's a guy I'm most worried about, that would be it. I think I'm most confident in Stephen Kwan. And I know that the baseball sabermetricians don't love it because he doesn't have a great exit velo off the bat and things of that nature. And they feel like a lot of his hits are lucky, though that's what they're qualified as. But, man, in a year where there's no shift now, he feels like he's using a tennis racket out there sometimes with his ability to put the ball wherever he wants on a diamond, which is hard as hell to do. But I just think that he's got some sort of innate ability, something special about him that can do it. I do expect us to be very much in it in September. It doesn't mean that I think we're definitely the favorite. I don't necessarily put it that way. I like what the Twins did in the offseason a little bit. Not only just bringing back Correa, but, Vasquez they added behind the plate. They made a couple of pitching moves that I think will help them. Yeah. The White Sox will be interesting. I think the managerial change is really going to help solidify that team, but I think they're really going to miss Jose Abreu, man. God, I'm so happy he's out of the division.
Yeah.
Like there's always, at some point over the last 25 years, there's always been a first baseman in the division that has hammered us. And he was the guy the last 7 or 8 years. Yeah. And I'm just happy he's in Houston.
Chris, one more before you run, but I have BattleBots have infiltrated my TikTok algorithm, and I can't swipe 3 or 4 times without seeing and watching an entire BattleBot fight, which if you haven't watched BattleBots, it is awesome. You do an awesome job on those calls. Who's the GOAT bot, and which one is your personal favorite?
Oh, come on. That's like asking which one of my kids is my favorite, which I'll tell you offline. Because we all really have a favorite child. But with BattleBots, we had 50 robots from a bunch of different countries.
It's so cool.
Yeah, it is great. If you haven't seen it before, real quickly, it's a pair of 250-pound robots that are fighting inside of a bulletproof glass cube, and they've got blades spinning at 250 miles an hour, and they're just beating the crap out of each other and setting people on fire and flipping them 15 feet in the air. It's unreal. And that's Thursday nights at 8 o'clock Cleveland time on Discovery, or you can get it on Discovery Plus and stream it at any point. It's a ton of fun. Some of my favorites, like I've become really good friends with a guy named Will Bales, who's the builder of Hypershock. Last night, he got launched about 15 feet in the air by a former champion called Endgame. And his bot lost a wheel and it's wobbling around, kind of like your kids when they first start walking, they do the drunk walk. Well, that's kind of like the way the robot was looking last night. So it's, I love flipper bots because they're able to slide under their opponents and launch them 15 or 20 feet into the air. You have to remember they're 250-pound robots. So it'd be like taking one of me and throwing me 250 feet in the air. Maybe I'm a little under 250, but you get the point.
Are you ringside for these?
Yes. Kenny Florian, right? Kenny Florian's your co-host?
Yeah, with Kenny Florian, former UFC fighter, who is a great
any
dude.
concern at all that you get injured if these things are going that high in the
Right.
air?
No, it's a bulletproof cage.
All the way, and it goes as high as...
Jay, I will turn you on to Chris.
Yeah,
I will make him a BattleBots fan.
I got to check this out, man. This sounds nuts.
The best one's the one,
but I will tell you this, Jay.
that has a spinning thing in the front. That's my favorite one. Little small silver one that has a spinny thing in the front.
That sounds like a stripper bot. To be honest with you.
That's why it's his favorite. That's why it's his favorite, Chris.
Guilty as charged.
Please welcome to the stage,
Cinnamon. Cinnamon.
By the way, if we took Chris in profile right now, with your beard, you kind of look a little like Ben Zobrist circa 2016 a little bit right now.
You're right.
It's a little Ben Zobrist going on right now.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, that's probably not Bull, that's probably not the best name to bring up in Cleveland history.
I apologize.
But
he was a great player.
That's fine with me. I would take I think he signed like a 4-year, $66 million deal with the Cubs. So maybe that's what my agent was calling me about.
Good luck.
Ben Zobrist biopic.
Double. One last question. This robot stuff.
BattleBots.
Does it travel or is it always shot in the same location?
Yeah, so we shoot it. We've moved around. We started out actually near CC Sabathia's home up in Vallejo, California. That was where we shot the first one. Then we shot it in downtown LA for a season, then Long Beach for 3. But the last 2, we have a home out in Las Vegas. And to be honest with you, they have turned it into a live Vegas show.
It should be.
So if you are in Vegas,
there it goes.
If you're bringing kids, for example, or if you don't hang out for a night and go drink and watch these things fight, we're right behind Caesars. We have an awesome camp setup, and they have a live show. I think it's 5 nights a week. Jay, are you finally checking it out?
How have I not known about this?
It's awesome.
Like, this is right up my alley. Oh, so and then the owner or the builder is handling the remote control.
Yeah, the teams of 6, right? Or 5 or 6.
Oh my!
Do we ever see fights between the builders?
No, it's actually it's an amazing community of people.
Okay.
Like, they're just wonderful people.
JV swipe.
The thing I love about it most, I got to be honest with you guys. I mean, you know me. I'm a sports guy. So when I was hired in 2015, I didn't know a damn thing about it. So I'm auditioning for it, and I'm watching some clips on YouTube, just like Jay's doing right now. Our oldest son at the time was a freshman, just finishing his freshman year in high school. His name's Josh. He walks downstairs. He says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm auditioning for this show." Yeah. He watches 90 seconds of a clip with me, and he goes, "You are not doing that show." I said, "What do you mean?" Well, first of all, I don't even have the job. Why am I not going to do it? He said, "Dad, I'll get laughed out of school." And I was like, no, that's pretty fun, whatever. Long story short, I end up getting the job. It's a summer replacement on ABC. It did pretty well at the time. His buddies loved the show. They all watched it together. And I remember walking into his room one day, and I said, "You're welcome. You're finally not a loser."
These things are catching on fire.
Go. Wow.
How are they going so high? It almost looks like they're propelled, not pushed.
It's like machine. They're so strong. It's giant robots.
Engineers, baby.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
We appreciate you, man.
Guys, take care. I always appreciate it.
All right.
See you, Chris.
Chris Rose.
What night of the week?
I just watched it on TikTok. I'll be honest.
There you go.
Bull, have you seen this before?
I think I have.
I've never in my life
I've
seen
seen
this.
it. Yeah, I've seen
and
it.
it is outrageous.
It's awesome. It's really cool.
I'd like to watch one in person.
I would love to. We should have a UCSS trip to Vegas to watch them film this.
Or they should bring it to Cleveland and put it at Rocket Mortgage.
That'd be awesome, too.
I wonder how many people that would actually go to watch that in person.
Oh, a lot of people.
I wonder what the line is, Earl. You think Betjack could put a line on that?